Vendors across the country come together and support these startups. As an association, we meet once a year. We organize conference for this platform, and the innovation centers across the country has gathered together here to discuss about the opportunities and challenges that we have, way forward to support these startups. We also recommend the policies to the government, to the policy makers, and we closely work with various stakeholders of the startup ecosystem, whether it is investors or industry associations, corporates, academia, researchers, research institutes. So it's an opportunity for us. Thanks to CSIR-CCMB and CSIR-IICT and CDMD for coming together to organize this event in Hyderabad. For this event, we have about 200 plus delegates from across the country, representing 150 plus incubation centers. We also had an international delegates from the incubation centers representing Asia countries. It is a 3-day program. Yesterday it started as a pre-conference workshop at THEP, and today and tomorrow at the conference which is happening at IICT CCMB campus. And hope we'll have a wonderful deliberations in next 2 weeks. Thank you. Coming out by the Department of Management Studies of IIT Mandi, and in collaboration with ISBA. The main objective of the study is to understand the entrepreneurship culture in the education institutions, how the students are preferring to become startups, and what is the percentage of students who are preferring startups during the studies immediately after graduation, within first 0 to 5 years of their graduation, and beyond 5 years, how the alumni have come forward to become an entrepreneur. So that's our study is all about student entrepreneurship, and we find that the conversion or the interest to become to start a startup is more after 2 to 3 years of graduation once they get the experience and exposure working in some industries. It's a major outcome of that. And MOUs with the THEP, we are trying to collaborate with THEP. Where the facilities, the services, the support, the initiatives of the THEP will be taken to the other incubation centers across the country through ISBA. As an association, we have members from Tier 1 cities, Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns. So some of the initiatives as in the Tier 3 incubation centers, they won't have the critical mass to do it. So as an inclusivity, their startups can get benefit out of this MOU in participating in the initiatives of the THEP. Similarly with the Telangana Federation, it's about working together to share their knowledge and expertise between organizations.
So this student engagement happens through internships or research projects? How does it?
The student initiative is, right, what we are measuring is whether the students are interested to start a startup during their studies. And a startup can be out of their own ideas or can be an outcome of the research activity or an outcome of their final year project. By all means, we will be supporting if they are interested in starting a startup during education.
Sir, so if you all can speak about the updates of research projects that are currently, on updates on research happening in CDMB or CCMB.
In the context of incubation or generally?
Generally and in this context also.
Research at CCMB is basically encompasses all the modern biology areas from the structural biology, fundamental biology, ecology and evolution, infectious disease biology, and various, plant biology, and we're missing out a few things here and there, but almost every area of modern biology is there are a few scientists working on it. And if you're working on modern biology problems, it's also important to have fantastic frontline facilities. We actually have almost everything that one needs, starting from cryo-EM, confocal microscopes, to pads and mass specs, everything that one needed to actually do frontline research. and almost all the model systems, with the exception of CLH, Drosophila, all these things we work on. That's an aspect which is a continuous effort because CCMB is founded in the first place for doing modern biology, modern molecular biology, which is at the front line, and find applications of this. And the other end of the things, which is societally beneficial work, along with the many other institutes, we have actually sequenced almost 12% of the genomes that were sequenced in India, COVID genomes, that is SARS-CoV genomes, were sequenced in CCMB. In addition to that, we were involved in almost every aspect of COVID, mitigation, testing, diagnostics, and everything almost possible, including surveillance, everything we have done. And that is one aspect of it. So we continue our efforts on infectious disease biology. We also have something called wildlife diagnostics, where we look into, if there's an animal poaching or whatever, under those circumstances, what is the identity of the animal that we actually work on, and we give the reports to forest departments across India. And then we have diagnostic services where we look at rare genetic diseases. Again, there is a certain commonality between us and CFD, and kind of we all work together in many of these aspects, but we do that. And we work on newer varieties of plants, such as Samba Masuri. We have come up with an improved Samba Masuri years ago with a low glycemic index and plant which is resistant to bacterial infections called blight resistance. But now we are combining with other additional things like drought resistant or salt tolerance and stuff like that, so that you have much better varieties with much better yields. This is a continuous process. We will continue to work on newer rice varieties going forward. We can use genome editing to everything. That's one of the aspects. We work on sickle cell anemia, and in fact, we actually we have tested all in various places in Madhya Pradesh and all, to find out that we are around 12,000 were homozygous, around 1 lakh or 2 lakhs. I don't recall exact number, but heterozygous. These are important national goals on which we are working on. We work on tuberculosis, part of a project which is involved in sequencing 31,000 clinical strains. CCMB is part of it, along with many others, reports, ICT, NIBMD, many other institutes. So we are involved in many large-scale projects, along with many other institutes, to address large-scale problems. Like we are trying to work on something called Phenom India, where we look into the health parameters of approximately 10,000 people. A project which is CSIR project initiated by IICT, but we are part of it. So we work on various aspects. So end to end, strong basic biology combined with strong application-oriented work. That's where we want to be. If there is anything that comes, country has a future pandemic or something, we want to be at the forefront. Because of that, we are actually building an animal BSFT in our premise, so that anything happens, anything is needed, country is needed. We don't know what's going to happen going forward, right? We want to be. We want to be back.
So can you give us some example where varieties like are existing in the market? Right.
Genome varieties of
Rice.
improved Samba Masuri is already there, and it is already there in approximately 6,000, planted in approximately 6,000 hectares across India, and it has a low glycemic index of 52, which is way lower than the Samba Masuri rice. That is not what we were looking for, it is there. And now we are combining it with other parameters such as salt tolerance and phosphorus tolerance and other things. So, so that we are coming up with more and more improved varieties. And when they come out, when we standardize it, when we know it, we transfer it. And realistically, not looking in the context of profit or anything, but we work with people, we transfer the money.
So as far as involved, is CKP sort of collaborating in that?
Can you?
Sir, can you please explain conference if it is possible in
Let him finish, I'll come.
There was a need set. The then leaders in Indian science actually had a vision to create new institutions that will help serve the country. Right? Back then, it was felt that we didn't have an institution that served the critical needs of fingerprinting and diagnostics. Now, all of us know that genome forms the basis of pretty much everything that you can think about in a biology. CDFT took the lead role of contributing to the forensics in the country, and in fact, we have led the way. Although now there are many state and central forensic laboratories, CDFT still becomes one of the referral points. We also are developing new methods for putting together more sensitive and better approaches to do fingerprinting. Diagnostics is one of the key mandates of CDFT. In addition to that, we are also a nodal agency for pediatric rare diseases in the country. In fact, pretty much any pediatric rare diseases that gets diagnosed in the country gets referred to us, and we actually do the genomics of that. In addition to just doing genomics, we also understand the biology of why the diseases happen. This is critical for actually providing therapeutic interventions. And in fact, CDFD, along with NIMS in Hyderabad, has played a major role in actually treating several pediatric rare diseases, including through enzyme replacements and nutritive supplements. CDFT also does basic research, pretty much like any other biology research institute, on all the domain areas that he has mentioned. But I would like to emphasize here that it's a unique opportunity, unlike other mandates of other institutions, where we have service and nation's interest at the core, where basic research that's happening actually contributes to this. A key, another highlight of CDFD is also that probably many of you don't know this. The export of basmati that happens from the country, actually the basmati has to be validated and verified by CDFD. Pretty much every export happens because CDFD verifies that it's the authentic basmati, because otherwise there's a lot of adulteration in the market. So CDFD also contributes to the economy of the country by making sure that we have type the right material. We are taking this forward in putting a new program to actually barcode endogenous plants which have nutritive and medicinal properties. And there is also the risk of climate change that's coming, looming large upon us. And unless we actually know what are the nutritive and medicinal properties of very rare plant species, we will not be able to extract phytopharmaceuticals from them. It also has huge impact on startups and bioeconomy, because we might be able to generate new chemical entities which will serve our own populations. Because I think the country-specific problems, I don't think the West is going to bother about it. I think it's for us to solve some of this. Many other activities are overlapping with many institutions like CCMB. We also are the nodal agency for National Genomics Core. Along with NIBMG in Kalyani, we actually provide genomic services, and we are nodal for providing this service. Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any ethical concerns with regards to gene editing?
Yeah, so there are ethical concerns about gene editing, and in fact, the DBT and the RCGM are playing a major role in constantly refining the policies and reforming the policies. There are two aspects. One is the policy itself, the other one is the awareness. So usually what happens is that even if you come up with a policy, the awareness among the public and the clinicians has to be made very obvious. And that's another critical role that organizations like CDFD, which are part of DBT, take a part in this.
You wanted ISBA on ISBA అనేది పెట్టిన ఆర్గనైజేషన్ 20 సంవత్సరాలు అయింది. మన దేశంలో ఉన్న స్టార్టప్స్ దే ఆర్ ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్స్. దానికి వాళ్ళంతా దే ఆర్ ఆల్ దీస్ స్టార్టప్ సెంటర్స్, ఇవన్నీ దే ఆర్ అరౌండ్ క్వైట్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ దెమ్. వాళ్ళంతా ఒక్కొక్క సంవత్సరానికి దే మీట్ అండ్ దే ఎక్స్చేంజ్ ఐడియాస్. దాన్ని ఇస్పోకాన్ అంటారు ఈ కాన్ఫరెన్స్. సో ఇక్కడ మనం 2006 తర్వాత 2007 తర్వాత హైదరాబాద్లో మొదటిసారి ఆర్గనైజేషన్ ఇక్కడ అవుతోంది. దాదాపు 150 స్టార్టప్ కంపెనీస్. ఇంక్యుబేటర్స్. ఇంక్యుబేటర్స్ అంటే బంచ్ ఆఫ్ స్టార్టప్స్ ఒక ఇంక్యుబేటర్లో పనిచేస్తాయి. మన దగ్గర AICCTలో 30 స్టార్టప్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఇట్స్ ఇంక్యుబేషన్. వీడి దగ్గర ఒక ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్ ఉంది. సో దెర్ ఆర్ 150 ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్ ఇక్కడికి వచ్చాయి ప్రస్తుతానికి. దీస్ ఆర్ ద హెడ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ దీస్ ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్స్. వాళ్ళంతా డిస్కస్ చేసుకుంటుంటారు, దే ఎక్స్చేంజ్ ఐడియాస్. దానివల్ల దిస్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ వల్ల ఏంటంటే ఇంక్యుబేషన్లో సెంటర్లో పనిచేసే మిగతా వాళ్ళందరికీ మంచి అడ్వాంటేజ్ వస్తుంది. సో ఎక్స్చేంజింగ్ ఐడియాస్ అండ్ అందుకే ఎంఓయూస్ అనేది మెమరీ ఆఫ్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ బిట్వీన్ డిఫరెంట్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్. అది ప్రస్తుతానికి ఈ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ ఐడియా. ఇది ఇట్స్ ఎ గెట్ టుగెదర్ వేర్ పీపుల్ కమ్ టుగెదర్, అంతా మాట్లాడతారు. దే హ్యావ్ ప్రజెంటేషన్స్, యూ హ్యావ్ ప్రజెంటేషన్స్, మాకు ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ప్రజెంటేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. అన్నీ విత్ దాట్ నాలెడ్జ్ వీ కెన్ టేక్ a startup ecosystem forward. One MOU I think is with the T-Hub, and I think వాళ్ళ దగ్గర ఉన్న expertise through ISBA మిగిలిన వాళ్ళకి ఎలా వెళ్ళాలి అన్నది దాని మీద. సో T-Hub అనే దానిలో ఆల్రెడీ దెర్ ఇస్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్ టెక్నాలజీ, దెర్ ఇస్ అ ఎకోసిస్టమ్ అంతా వాళ్ళకి కొంచెం స్టాండర్డైజ్ మొత్తం అంతా దెర్ ఇస్ దేర్. So now they are working along with ISBA so that it gets dissipated to other మిగతా వాళ్ళ దగ్గర ఉన్నారు. అది ఒక MOU. రెండోది ఐఎమ్ నాట్ సెకండ్ is with the Telangana Chamber of Commerce. Again, it's more about exchange of ideas. Anytime when you have a MOU sign చేసామంటే it's about exchanging ideas and so that both organizations will.
How do you think these MOUs and
That's what this ecosystem is all about.
creates employment?
It does create an employment, but not at the start. It creates an employment when the startups become successful ventures. So, but at this point of time, the entrepreneur who's starting is already out of the market and doing something different, right? But eventually, even if let's say 10% of the startups succeed, you are creating a larger employment.
So in fact, I'll add to this. The recent policy that the government of India, under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Narendra Modi, and Deputy Secretary Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, actually emphasizes there are 3 E's there, which are interesting: employment, economy, and environment. Right? And employment is key because unless you enable, private sectors and startups to create jobs, the government sector, particularly in the R&D sector, will never be able to create so many jobs for our skilled manpower. Institutes like CCMB and CDP take a major burden in creating quality manpower with really high end training, which is comparable to any best institution in the world. But what is the next step for these is employment. So therefore, this enables them. Employment is also useful because you want best minds to come to science. So unless you have an employment stream, you can't attract best minds to come to science as well. So this entire ecosystem, including with the efforts like ISBA, is aimed at filling end to end and creating, and again what Bharat director said, it's a circular economy. You want to make sure that you have job creation so that you attract better talent, and this better talent also has an opportunity to realize their dreams.
Yeah, Dr. Madhu will brief about AICCT.
Thank you, sir.
సార్ యాక్చువల్గా CCMB యొక్క ప్రధాన ఉద్దేశం ఏంటి? CCMB యొక్క ప్రధాన ఉద్దేశం ఏంటి? నెక్స్ట్ 5 to 10 years మీకు గోల్ ఏంటి?
ఒరిజినల్గా మా ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే మంచి హై క్వాలిటీ కటింగ్ ఎడ్జ్ మాలిక్యులర్ బయాలజీ ఆర్ మాలిక్యులర్ రీసెర్చ్ ఇన్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్. అది ఒరిజినల్ ఐడియా. దాని తర్వాత ఆ లెవెల్ రీసెర్చ్ చేసిన తర్వాత దెర్ విల్ బి సమ్ బెనిఫిషియల్ థింగ్స్ దట్ విల్ కమ్. దట్ వీ వాంట్ టు యూజ్ ఇట్. మన సొసైటీలో ఏమైనా బెనిఫిట్ చేయగలగా మన రీసెర్చ్ని వచ్చిన రీసెర్చ్ని యూజ్ చేయడం అనేది మా ఒరిజినల్ ఐడియా. దట్ ఈస్ ద వాట్ వీ కాల్ అస్ mandate.
Personal interviews.
Special CCMB.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
ఈ ఇస్బాకాన్ అనే కాన్ఫరెన్స్ మేము హోస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం. అది అదర్ ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్ అట్ CCMB మీటింగ్ని అదర్ ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్ CCMB వాళ్ళు మా అదర్ ఇంక్యుబేషన్ సెంటర్ ముఖ్య ఉద్దేశం ఏమిటంటే ఈ అంకుర సంస్థలకు ప్రోత్సాహం ఇవ్వడం. అలా గత 8 ఏళ్ళగా మేము ఈ పనిలో ఉన్నాం. ఇప్పుడు దాకా ఒక 150 సంస్థలు మా ద్వారా అంకుర సంస్థలు బాగా ముందుకు వెళ్ళారు. చాలామంది తర్వాత వాళ్ళ సొంత వ్యాపారాలు కూడా మొదలు పెట్టుకోవడానికి అవకాశం వచ్చింది. ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఇసుక కాలం వల్ల ఏంటంటే మాలాంటి సంస్థలు, ఇంక్యుబేటర్ సంస్థలు లాంటివి అందరూ కలిసి సంవత్సరానికి ఒకసారి కలుస్తారు. ఇది 20 ఏళ్ల ప్రయాణంలో ఇది 16వ మీటింగ్. ఈ మీటింగ్లో ఏంటంటే ఈ అసోసియేషన్లో ఒక 150 సంవత్సరాల దాకా రిజిస్టర్ అయ్యి ఉన్నాయి. వాళ్ళందరూ వచ్చి కలిసి ఒకసారి వాళ్ళ ఉద్దేశాలు, వాళ్ళ ప్రణాళికలు, వాళ్ళు ఏ విధంగా వాళ్ళ ఆపరేషన్స్ నడుపుతున్నారు అనేదంతా డిస్కస్ చేసుకుంటారు. దాంతో ఏమిటంటే ఇప్పుడు మీరు ప్రభుత్వం యొక్క ముఖ్య ఉద్దేశం చూస్తే వచ్చే 20-30 ఏళ్ల ప్రణాళికల్లో ఎంటర్‌ప్రెన్యూర్‌షిప్ అండ్ స్టార్టప్ కల్చర్ చాలా ప్రోత్సహించాలని గవర్నమెంట్ ఉద్దేశం. ఆ ఉద్దేశంతో చాలా ముఖ్యమైన ఇలాంటి ఇంక్యుబేటర్స్ చాలా కీలక పాత్ర వహిస్తాయి. ఈ స్టార్టప్స్ ప్రమోట్ చేయడానికి, వాటికి కావాల్సిన ఆర్థిక సహాయం అందజేయడానికి, వాళ్ళని ఎట్లా విఫలం కాకుండా చూసుకోవాలి, ఇలాంటి వాటికి అన్నింటికి కూడా వాళ్ళకి ఎందుకంటే ఈ అంకుర సంస్థల వాళ్ళు అంత విజ్ఞానంతో రాదు. ఒక బిజినెస్ ఎట్లా నడపాలనేది అంత అవగాహన ఉండదు. వాళ్ళకి అవగాహన కల్పించి ట్రైనింగ్ ఇచ్చి అలా చేసే ఇంక్యుబేటర్ యొక్క ప్రముఖ పాత్ర. ఇటువంటి ఇంక్యుబేటర్లన్నీ కలిసి ఈ ISBA అనే అసోసియేషన్ ఫామ్ అయింది. దీనివల్ల ఏంటంటే అందరి దగ్గర ఉన్న వాళ్ళ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, వాళ్ళ గమనించే విశేషాలన్నీ కూడా కలిసి మాట్లాడుకుంటే ఆ తప్పులు మళ్ళీ వేరే వాళ్ళు చేయకుండా ఉంటుంది. దాంతో అదొకటే కాకుండా ఈ అంకుర సంస్థల ఇంక్యుబేటర్లు అందరికీ వాళ్ళ అవసరాలన్నీ ప్రభుత్వానికి తెలియజేయాలంటే ఇది ఒక అసోసియేషన్ ఒక ప్రధాన పాత్ర వహిస్తుంది. అందుకని ప్రతి ఏడాది మనం ఈ ISBA అనేది థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి.
Dr. Praveen Roy.
Namaskar, I am Praveen Roy. I come from Department of Science and Technology, and I am heading Innovation and Entrepreneurship Wing in the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Government of India has been a pioneer in setting up of incubators and incubation movement in the country. In year 2000, we started supporting academic incubators, and as of now, we are having around 180 plus incubators in different academic setups. We have touched almost all the premier institutes like IITs, NITs, universities, medical colleges, management colleges, IIMs. So with this vast network of incubators, we are trying to promote innovation, entrepreneurship and startup culture in academic setups, and trying to bring a change in the academic setups where the research is more focused, was more focused on creating PhDs and publishing papers. But with our support, we want that this research becomes more on applied research, becomes a translational research, and then we try to solve the challenges faced by society and bring products and solutions for the challenges which are there in the society. With this, we have supported almost around 10,000 plus startups in this network. And ISBA-Con is one of the flagship events of ISBA. And ISBA is also created by the incubators which were initially supported by DST in 2004. And now it has grown to a size where more than 130 incubators are part of this from different other government departments supporting incubators also. So I appreciate the way ISBA has been conducting networking events across the country and across the year. And ISBA-Con has become a flagship event where most of the incubators come, network, try to discuss the challenges that they face, and try to understand what kind of opportunities are there where supports can be extended to the incubation centers and also to the startups which are incubated under these incubators. So we appreciate that this kind of associations will be certainly trying to popularize the schemes which are there from the government. And it will also motivate the state governments to come with their startup policies and programs which can support startups and incubation centers in different setups. We are supporting incubation centers in research labs also, and one of the centers which is in CCMB and T-Hub is supported by DST. So these type of centers certainly help in building that ecosystem of startup and innovation culture in the country, and this should be taken further with different initiatives of the government.
Center for Managing Director of Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council.
It's a nodal body of the Department of Biotechnology to implement the programs of the department. It's a Section 8 company and set up as a public sector undertaking of the department. We support the startup companies, we support industry, we support the academia and the industry interface. And support to these startups is mainly through setting up the incubation centers. We have now around 120 incubation centers supported by the Department of Biotechnology. And many of these incubation centers are within the framework of NSTDB also, where NSTDB is set up. So we are complementing, the departments are actually working together to complement. The incubation centers provide the plug and play facility for these startup companies to do proof of concept and scale up. I think this ISBA-Con is very important event. It's an annual event where all these startups, incubation center managers, etc., they come and share the best practices. And this has been happening for quite some time before the 2016 Startup India that was founded. I think this ISBA has been working silently to give the facilities to the startup or incubation centers, etc., and create that awareness among the people or students or faculty and entrepreneurs too, that such entrepreneurship avenues are there. This incubation centers are also means to implement various programs such as seed fund program that we support, where we give startup companies some funding mechanism, and these are implemented through incubation centers. We directly can fund also, but incubation centers have become institutions to implement many of the programs of entrepreneurship from BIRAC and other departments also. One is seed fund. The other is we also support the scale-up activities. So Bio-E3 policy, which government has initiated now from the Department of Biotechnology, talks about scaling up the facilities of whatever we have set up, and also de novo new facilities. Because the startup companies are stuck at certain point, I mean they do proof of concept studies, but after that they do not have facilities for scaling up of their innovation products, etc. For example, if we are talking about drugs, they need fermentation facilities, they need facilities where they can actually grow these cell culture facilities, GMP facilities, etc. So definitely Bio-E3 policy would take care of that. We are creating biofoundries and bio-manufacturing hubs under these schemes. So overall, I think ISBA is a very important organization which knits together all the incubation centers which are means to support such programs of entrepreneurship and innovation in the entire country. Thank you so much.
Telangana or Hyderabad that can tell us about the amount of growth that has happened because of such collaboration.
Oh yes, actually Telangana, Hyderabad is the forerunner. This cluster has developed very at the earliest times in India, and it has set up a model for the entire country. To talk about this, let's go back to the history when ICICT Knowledge Park was set up. I think it was in 2006, 2007. It was set up, and then Department of Biotechnology, they collaborated with it to set up many other programs under it. Then CSIR, IICT was one of the earliest centers where incubation center was set up. CCMB came, and now AIC incubation center is there. University of Hyderabad has another cluster. There are a lot of startups who have done very well in this, and they have set up the examples for other places. A lot of good entrepreneurs have come from here. As far as the government data for this is concerned, I think Telangana government will have definitely these data. But definitely starting, suppose for example, we say that there are around 300 startups in 2009 to 2010. Now it crosses, biotech startup I'm talking about, and it crosses around 8,500. But these are only life sciences. Now there are around 1,40,000 startups put together, not only life, but all startups together, that only they are registered in APIT. The actual number may be very high. You are not registered. And Telangana and Hyderabad being one of the clusters, I think maximum are from here. And then one is Bangalore. But Telangana and Bangalore, Hyderabad has a great advantage in many ways. We're central, closer to central India, and logistics and other things are very cosmopolitan considered.
ISBA GP member, I'm Dr. Ramji Palela. I would like to mention about this particular conclave, which is after 17 years came back to Telangana, where generally we 120, 110 incubators will gather, but here close to 150 incubators and about 300 plus incubation managers and CEOs, corporates joined. I'd like to especially mention about the corporate engagement like Thermo Fisher, AWS, and also ICICI Bank, Oban and Associates, as I mentioned to you. These all actually the stakeholders, also part of the incubation and acceleration ecosystem along with the government agencies like DST, DBT. And it's a kind of pride of Telangana, I say. One way, T-Hub supported yesterday the pre-conference workshops and also parallel sessions along with the international delegates also came, if we can see. So we try to align how we can actually globalize our local engagements as well, so that all these activities can be more catalytic and more happening, so that the cross-border businesses and collaborations can happen. Our incubators can go there and their startups can come here. So great opportunity that we have created by keeping this in a government-based academic research institute called CCMB, of course thanks to IICT also, where we will be engaging this innovation ecosystem further, and this is the greatest platform of ISBA that we have ever seen in Indian ecosystem. Thank you so much. So we already, India is representing Asian Association of Business Incubation already, and yesterday when we are seen with the Asian incubators, Indonesians, Malaysia, and also South Korea, as Dr. Jitendra Kumar mentioned. So we are having the specific co-incubation programs and accelerations that the dialogue has been started, and probably we will be representing next year's ABI in Indonesia. All right. Thank you, because we are having the panel discussion. Thank you so much for all of you.
Take one, I'll give you the madam.
Thank you very much. Moving ahead with the agenda, next we have a session, Propel India Startup Revolution. For this, I would like to invite the session manager, Mr. Ismail Akbani, CEO, AIC Mahindra, to come forward and take over the session.
Only the sentence I accepted, because I grew up in a culture where they say Prasad to be Manani. Right? So I said, okay. Then I asked, what is my role going to be? Session manager, okay. Then I get the moderator, I asked the question. He said, no, we are not the moderator. He asked the question. What am I going to do? He said, you have to introduce the practice. And I turned to get to right? Then he said the session agenda. And I go to the panelists. And I thought, wow. Every panelist on the panel needs to introduce. Right? So ladies and gentlemen, if ever in your life you feel that you have no use in life, you are a brilliant person. Remember there was ISBA on, where there was a slide who was not needed on the stage. Right? Because I am here to introduce people who need no introduction. But wait, इस इंसान की क्रूरता मालूम नहीं करता मुझे. He was not happy with that as well. So what he did, he went ahead and invited two of this session just before lunch to make it more difficult. Thankfully, it did not happen. Right? So the panel that I'm going to introduce is comprising of the people wherein any attempt to introduce them is going to do injustice to their stature. And I'm just going to go ahead, call their names and get them on the stage because we are short of time as well. To start with, we have Mr. Ramanathan, whose name has Ram twice already. And I work at a AIC responsible for the current building. Right? The next man we have is Mr. Praveen Roy, who is Head Technology Transfer and Innovation Department Scientist G at DST. The man whose name is, please give around and I will notice his marriage and Salia, all of them have been trying their best to make you lazy people clap. I'm a small man, I cannot do anything, but we have a very smart, very capable, very prolific, very terrific president of ISBA, Dr. Suresh Kumar. And he has just sent you a thread message through me. And the message goes like this, कि फूल ISBA का है, फूल इंक्यूबेशन का है, ISBA उसको खिलाएगा. फूल इंक्यूबेशन का ISBA खिलाएगा, बिरयानी उसी को मिलेगी जो ताली बजाएगा. So with that note, I hand it over to Raman sir to take ahead the session.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's, I think, afternoon, so it's no longer good morning. And first of all, I want to thank ISBA for giving me an opportunity to chair this wonderful session of very, very distinguished people. So a big hand to all the people who are assembled on the stage. And this is not a political clap, but a genuine clap to all of those people. Indeed, we are living in some of the most exciting times. And you have just had a very powerful speaker talk about the role of incubators and how an incubator plays such an important role in the growth of